Hey, what's up, everyone? Today I'll be doing a Jousts tier list ranking. So I'll be ranking all the characters from S to D tier based on their viability in the game. In Joust, based on their viability in Joust 2. So let's start. Okay, first I'll do a rough ranking and place off the major characters in their general tiers before I go into the nitty gritty. So let's start off with Trigon. He is a dominating character. Okay, so his forward attack, his forward basic attack is overpowered, and it's actually a pretty good initiation technique. There's no way for the opponent to actually counter or punish that move, and the only real way for the opponent to dodge that is to either use a mobility skill, like maybe Kid Flash or Batman can do, or to just literally move back and try to avoid his attack. So if Trigon keeps using his forward basic attack, basically his initiation skill, then the opponent would eventually be forced into a corner where Trigon can just constantly hit his opponents with his front attack. So that's one aspect that makes Trigon really strong, and allows him to dominate practically every other character. So okay, let's start off by classifying the different skills and the different archetypes first. So in general, there are 3 to 4 different types of attacks in Jousts. So there is the initiation. There are attacks that are used for initiation. So basically, these are attacks that make you go forward towards your opponent and allows you to get hits on them. Initiations are usually classified as melee attacks that have a pretty decent range or allow you to jump really far forward to reach your opponent and deal damage to them. So ideally, you want them to have a very long melee range, because you don't want your opponents to hit you before you can hit them, because when you're jumping towards them, there's a moment of vulnerability where they can hit you. So if your initiation allows you to jump really far and quickly towards them, or has a really long range, then you can hit them before they can hit you, and then and therefore your attack will go unpunished. Then there's the second type of attack, which is what I call static defense, or a passive attack. So what this does is allows you to protect. It allows the character to protect themselves from initiation attacks. So passive attacks are usually attacks that make a character go backwards for a split second before going forward for a counter attack, or attacks that basically allow the character to just stand on the spot and protect themselves from the opponent's initiation attack. And there's a third type of attack, which is usually a character's special attack, and in some cases their ultimate attack, their super attack. So basically, this third type of skill is this third attack classification is a long range attack, projectile. So basically, characters like Robin, Cyborg, and Bumblebee have that as their special attack. So it allows them to shoot stuff from afar and have a decently high chance of hitting the enemy, while not undergoing any risk themselves. So this is a pretty good way to hit enemies from afar. Other characters that have this projectile ability are Harley Quinn, Paintbot, and Slade, except that their projectiles are ground projectiles, so they aren't like bullets that fly through the air. They can only travel along the ground. But there's still decent projectiles. There's still decent projectile moves nevertheless. And the fourth type of attack is a mobility one. So mobility attacks have 2 functions. They either allow you to quickly get to your opponent and catch them off guard by dealing some quick damage to them, or they can be used to dodge enemies' attacks, like maybe the enemies' projectiles or ultimates and whatnot. So, mobilities, against an unskilled opponent, mobilities are very good because they allow you to quickly get damage on them, and they quickly allow you to deal damage to them in a manner that's very hard to defend. But against skilled players, mobilities can sometimes be blocked and even exploited as a moment of vulnerability for for the skilled player to take advantage of when trying to attack the opponent. So, for example, if Trigon uses his mobility, he's underground for a moment and he cannot do any damage. So this allows the opponent to reposition himself in such a way that he can deal damage to Trigon the moment he comes out from under the ground. So, in general, I would like to view the first three types of attacks as a scissors, paper, stone sort of system. So initiation attacks get countered by passive or static defense attacks. The static defense not only negates the initiation attack, it also allows the one using the static defense attack to deal damage to the initiator. But in the case of static defense or passive defense, these characters who predominantly have these skills get countered by projectile users, because passive defenders, static defenders usually do not have a good initiation skills, which makes it hard for them to reach the projectile user and attack them before they can get their projectiles out. So as long as the projectile user maintains a good distance between the two characters, the projectile user can just keep firing projectiles at the other at their opponents, and it's an easy win. And finally, projectile attack users get countered by initiators, because initiators may take a bit of damage from their projectiles, but ultimately what happens is that they can reach the projectile user very quickly and start doing a combo on them, which allows them to effectively counter the projectile user. Mobility, though, messes everything up. Good mobility allows different archetypes to can enhance the roles of different archetypes and maybe even make them less susceptible to different attacks. So it makes the game less scissors, paper, stone like, and actually adds more depth to the game. I would like to point out, though, that mobility is usually used in conjunction with the first three types of attacks. So mobility could be used as a passive defense. Static defense could be used in the context of passive defense, initiation, or projectile attacks. So in the case of Batman, his special attack is a mobility / projectile one. So it allows him to move to the other side of the screen and also launch a projectile at the opponent. So what makes this good? Well, it allows him to avoid enemy attacks and also reposition himself on the map, and also reposition himself on the screen, and also launch a projectile at the enemy. So if this is properly timed, it can save him from an enemy's advances or attacks, help him reposition, help him improve his positioning, and also potentially deal damage to the enemy. Whereas in the case of Trigon, his mobility allows him to teleport closer or even to his opponent, which really helps in initiation, so that he can position himself in such a way that he can immediately start doing melee attacks to his opponent. In the case of Raven's static defense, it also sort of functions as a static mobility skill, Of course, she can go underground and thus dodge projectiles, which makes her less vulnerable to projectile users. So even though Raven's still in general weak to projectiles, I don't know, this at least helps her survive air projectiles, though against ground projectiles she's still pretty susceptible to getting damaged by them. Okay, so without further explanations of dry theory, let's get on with this tier list making. Okay, I would classify Robin and possibly Starfire as S tier for now. I mean, they may be dropped to A tier later on, we'll see how things go. But Robin is a pretty balanced character in my opinion. His good initiation, his initiating attack is almost as good as Trigon's. It's good range, but he can still be vulnerable in certain scenarios compared to Trigon, whose initiating attack is just overpowered and nearly practically uncounterable. Robin also has a long range projectile skill, which Trigon doesn't have, which makes Robin better for which allows Robin to do better against static defenders. Trigon, however, counters lots of static defenders because his initiating range is just off the charts. Whereas Robin, he relies more on projectiles to help him deal damage. He also has good counter-attacking skills. His mobility is basically part of. He doesn't really have a skill that concentrates on mobility. His skills in general are all very mobility based, because he can jump pretty far, so he has good mobility stats to begin with, so he doesn't need any mobility skill. And his static defense is not it's not top notch. He isn't a character that focuses on that, but whatever static defense skills he has, they're pretty solid. His static attack allows him to cover the area directly in front of him, so it's okay if the opponent tries to. It's usable if the opponent tries to initiate an attack on him. He also has the counter attack skill when he moves back and then launches an attack, which allows him to swing forward and regain some initiative and tempo on the opponent. Starfire, Robin's ultimate is also pretty decent. It launches a projectile forward, which has a very high chance of hitting the opponent, like at least 80%, just by playing it. Trigon's ultimate is less reliable though. It has a very limited range, so it has a very low hit rate. Starfire, pretty high hit rate with her ultimate, and also ultimate can occasionally combo an opponent by hitting them twice, which allows you to do like a total of 6 damage. Maybe it's just 4 damage, depends. But still, the fact that you can combo with Starfire's ultimate is already a pretty big thing. Oh yes, and for Starfire, she has a very strong initiating attack too. It's not really initiation per se. It can also be used as a defending attack. It's super versatile. Her front attack here, then her static attack can be used for both static defense, or when you're close to your opponent, you can just use, or if you've got your opponent cornered against the wall, you can just use it as a combo attack to launch to just hit the opponent back repeatedly against the wall. As for her counter attack move, basically her back, the moving back plus attack combo, it's rarely used considering how overpowered her first two skills are, her first two basic attacks are. And her special and supers are basically the same thing, except that her super attack is a much better version of her special. Her special basically involves mobility, initiating mobility. So she will just charge through the air at a high speed towards her opponent. Sometimes she can be stopped, and it's not exactly a good thing for her. But most of the time, Starfire gets a hit and can actually follow up with a static basic attack, which deals a total of 2 damage. And if the opponent's unable to respond, you can even follow up with another combo, the Starfire's laser attack, the jump forward plus basic attack move. So if you notice, these S tier characters generally have very strong initiating skills, and also high built-in mobility stats, so they don't have to have super mobility skills, but they can move around the map very easily to begin with. Or most of their basic attacks are already balanced in such a way that all of them have good mobility, so they don't exactly need a skill that is devoted to mobility. Okay, next up, I would classify Harley Quinn and Paintbot as being in the A tier, probably, and maybe Jinx too. Harley Quinn is very, very strong initiation, as you can just traverse the map super quickly. Traverse the not the map, but the screen. She can traverse the screen. The screen. She can traverse the screen very, very quickly and easily, and just launch a hit out from the ground and hit the opponent and hit her opponent. Pretty overpowered skill, and it also allows her to move to the other side of the screen and dodge many of her opponent's non-ground attacks, which is very solid and can be quite versatile in the hands of a skilled player. Her other her static attack and her counter attack, they are generally similar to Robin's and Starfire's, so there's not much to explain. She has a ground projectile skill, and her ultimate is also a bigger version. So yeah, she also has that dual function of ground projectile skills, and if you use her special and super consecutively, with the right interval between the two, you can actually time it such that if the opponent tries to avoid the special, they get hit by the super, and vice versa. So Harley Quinn is very, very, very versatile and has tons of potential in the hands of a skilled player, which and yeah, I honestly, I think the skill floor for Harley Quinn is much higher than that of Trigon or Starfire or Robin. That's just my opinion. But Harley Quinn still has quite a number of weaknesses, so I wouldn't put her in S tier yet, because I don't think she's overpowered. She's just very solid, and yeah, has lots of potential. Then for Paintbot has very good passive, has very good static defensive capabilities, and can also initiate reasonably well. And his Paintbot is basically like Harley Quinn's ground projectile. Paintbot's mini bot projectile is basically like Harley Quinn's ground bomb projectile. Same thing, honestly. Paintbot's mobility is just kind of limited, and his ultimate also involves getting close to his opponent and popping the ability. So, and popping the ultimate, the super. So Paintbot is very solid. It also can defend. You can also read. You can also hit the space behind it, so it's less susceptible to characters who can go behind their opponents, like Kid Flash and Batman. So Paintbot actually becomes a counter to those two characters, which is why I put Paintbot in A tier, because it's just a brilliant counter to so many of these characters. Jinx actually has very, very strong initiation too. She can traverse the map at insane speed. Like she actually doesn't traverse the map through the ground, so her mobility isn't ground based, it's air based. So she can just leap through the air to the opponent and kick the opponent's head very, very quickly. It's hard to react and even harder to dodge. So that alone makes Jinx A tier. Originally, I didn't consider Jinx very, very overpowered, because her other skills were just mid. Okay, from now on, I'll only talk about the highlight basic attack. The other basic attacks usually require no explanations unless they are also significant. Okay, her special and super, her special and super attacks are basically the same thing. She just like creates a ping ball over her head, and it has a very low chance of hitting the opponent unless she's extremely close or unless the opponent tries to initiate an attack. So if she's up against long range attackers like projectile users like Robin, okay, since she's an air based initiator, yeah, against Robin or Cyborg, then she kind of gets destroyed because they can just launch projectiles at her, and she will probably get hit. And if she tries to hit them with, I don't know, ping balls or with an initiate, you can just use the static attack, or just keep a distance. Yeah, I think the one problem with Jinx that makes her initiating attack less powerful is that it doesn't have an amazing range. She uses her body to attack, unlike Robin, who has a stick, and Starfire, who has a laser, and Trigon, who has that fist from another dimension. Jinx has to use her feet to kick the opponent's head, so it makes her equally vulnerable to getting hit by the opponent's static attack or counter attack. Basically, their static defense, their static defense skills. So it's, yeah, she is kind of limited in this respect, and this therefore makes Jinx only an A tier pick. Okay, let's move on to B tier. Wait, I honestly should expand the A tier. A tier. Okay, honestly, I would put Slade and maybe Kid Flash in A tier. We'll see. Honestly, yeah. Slade I would put Slade in A tier because I don't know. I just found him very good from the very start, from the get go. But recently, okay, honestly, Slade I would say is solid against basically every character except for Kid Flash. Kid Flash is a hard counter to Slade because Slade is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to guarding his front. He can throw that short range ground grenade at the opponent. He can use his swords to whack the opponent. He has that mace, I think it's a mace. Yeah, a mace to counter attack the opponent. It's very, very hard to hit Slade from the front. Slade also, Slade has very, very decent initiating, static defense, and long range skills. They are very balanced, and his ultimate is a laser from his arm that reaches all the way to the end of the screen, and is basically impossible to dodge unless you use Trigon's underground mobility skill or something at the right time. So I would say Slade is practically unbeatable from the front, but if you try to take him on from the back, he's very, very vulnerable. So Kid Flash can quickly get to the other side by going from the opponent's back and just attacking them before they can turn around, because there's that auto turning around feature that's not controlled by players, and so that speed is limited and cannot be controlled. So Kid Flash exploits this factor, this variable, and uses it to attack Slade from behind, where Slade is completely vulnerable until he turns around. But by the time he turns around, Kid Flash can just easily get back to the other side of the screen. So because Slade can get countered from the back, I don't know, I just find him a bit vulnerable, and also because he doesn't have any particularly outstanding aspect. Yeah, he's only A tier at best. I might even downgrade him to B tier. if the situation calls for it. What I ideally want is a bell curve. Yeah. So I want there to be a heavy bunching around the B tier. Okay, honestly, let's just start off with D tier. D tier, Mother May I is definitely in that list, in that rank. I would also put Gizmo and Gizmo there. Yeah. I think Mother May I is actually the worst. Okay, Mother May I has an ultimate that basically never hits. It just consider it a missed attack. The moment you activate your ultimate, it doesn't do anything, even though it charges up really, really quickly. Mother May I special, it just shoots that roller, what do you call that? The thing that's used to roll dough. Yeah, it only hits a specific spot in front of Mother May I. So even though it's a projectile, it doesn't go horizontally. It travels in a very, very sharp parabola to the area directly in front of Mother May I. So it's kind of useless for a long range attack. Mother May I's basic attacks are kind of mid. She doesn't shine in initiation or static defense. She's reasonably balanced at both, but her initiation has a very short travel range, so even though it's solid, if the opponent's far away, she can't do anything. In the hands of a skilled player though, Mother May I still has some potential, but she just doesn't have that strong tempo or combo ability. She just can't get the ball rolling on an opponent. Gizmo, his bombs basically don't hit the opponent. The opponent can just avoid the bombs before they explode. And Gizmo probably can only counter Kid Flash while he's like dashing around, and he just drop a bomb and then disrupt Kid Flash's dashing and moving. But beyond that, nothing much. Then, as for Gizmo's attacks, he has decent initiating and static defense skills, but once again, don't we all? It has a very short range, and though once again the hands of a skilled player, Gizmo has some reasonable potential to be a solid B tier. Well, we'll just assume that it's a dummy who is playing Gizmo, and yeah, Gizmo is pretty bad, honestly. He cannot rely on his special or super / ultimate at all, and his basic attacks are not even that great either, so it's difficult. Okay, what else belongs in the D tier? D tier, this is a very, very difficult choice. Okay, Mammoth or Terra? Terra actually has a really, really, really high skill cap. Still deciding between Mammoth and Terra. Aqualad is still solid. Or just put Mammoth. Mammoth hard counters a few specific characters such as Kid Flash and who's that other one? Beast Boy? Is it Beast Boy? Or Jinx? Or yeah. Mammoth has one of the best static defense capabilities in the entire game, in my opinion, but beyond that he just can't do much. His special and ultimate have can have decent range, but he just can't initiate. So if he's up against an opponent who just keeps a very safe distance and just constantly fires projectiles at him, I don't think Mammoth is gonna cook. Mammoth is just useless in that scenario, and because most characters here have, well, Mammoth might also counter Raven. Okay, anyway, since most characters here have some kind of solid, reasonably long-ranged attack, this means that Mammoth can't actually hurt them, and he basically has no chance. So sorry Mammoth, but you are in the D tier here. Yeah, I mean, if Mammoth tries to get close to the opponent and activates his special, he stands a chance, but the opponent can just shoot a projectile or use some kind of long range counter attack skill. So basically, when you press back and then press the basic attack button, that's a counter attack skill. If they have a long range counter attack skill, they can just counter Mammoth's advances and assaults. So yeah, he's not very solid. Okay, what next? Now I dare to put Kid Flash at the very top of the B tier. He can get around very, very quickly. He has some very, very solid combos, and his special and ultimate are impossible to dodge. They are the hardest to dodge in the entire game. Yeah, you can't do anything about it. You just take damage from them, and he just gets around, whacks you with his his initiating skills are not that amazing. He relies on his mobility to get close to the opponent because he has no range at all. So he has to use his body to just straight up whack the opponent before the opponent can do anything, and then just stun the opponent when he's whacking them, and then after that quickly make a getaway. So Kid Flash can actually take lots of opponents down very, very quickly, and it's a hard counter to them, but in certain select cases he can actually beat. He actually gets defeated, and I don't know, I might upgrade him to A tier, but I don't know, he's just limited, I guess. He can't okay, so yeah, honestly I might switch places. I might switch honestly Jinx, Slade and Kid Flash are very, they're basically on the same tier. I could switch their positions and placements, their positions and rankings anytime. Like yeah, honestly it just depends on my random whims today, like which position they're in. So yeah, the positions are pretty dependent on what I feel like putting on what I feel like ranking them to today. So yeah. Okay, so now on to the next one. Okay, I would probably just put Cyborg because of his projectile skills, and also generally his yeah, he has both projectile specials and supers, which allows him to get decent and nearly guaranteed damage on the opponent. His initiating skills are meh. His initiating and static defense skills are very mid. His mobility it's similar to Batman actually has a counter attack skill which allows him to like turn into that vehicle thing and then just go up, and then just go up and then down very steeply. So it sort of forms a needle, okay, how do I explain it? Well, it's like wait. Okay, basically they go up really really quickly, and then after they go down. So instead of traveling in an arc, like a semicircle's curve, so it's a weird kind of mobility. It can make them go really really high up and then down, but it doesn't allow them to travel in a quick arc towards the opponent to initiate an attack. So while they're going down, the opponent can just hit them from below and take advantage of the openings that are created. Overall, I give Cyborg this spot because of the almost guaranteed damage that his projectiles do. I can't give Cyborg A tier because his basic attacks aren't amazing enough. Like if you notice in this tier list, your basic attacks actually matter a lot. But if you have if you also have projectile skills that you can spam at the opponent, it's also amazing. So yeah, honestly, I think characters like Cyborg might deserve a higher place, might deserve a higher ranking, while all the A tiers might actually be in reality only B tiers at best. Yeah, so it's kind of a very grey area, and these classifications are honestly kind of subjective. In fact, wait, I could just go over to tier list. Jousts to tier list, yes. And take a look at this, guys. Oops, okay. Never mind. We can just take a look at another tier list. What is the one I'm creating? Oops. Okay, these are the community rankings. Okay, they just disappeared. Okay, never mind. So, yeah, so right now, okay, it's really hard to decide on my next ranking. I would probably just go for Brother Blood. His flamethrower attack is just really strong. He's a powerhouse, a static defense powerhouse. It's hard to approach him and try to get damage down on him without suffering yourself. His special is pretty mid. It's just a static defense, a top static defense in case someone tries to launch an attack from a melee attack from close, but from the top. Okay, so yeah, he's just an overall powerhouse in terms of static defense, and he can also initiate reasonably well with his forward movement. Then when he hits the ground, backward movement, immediately press basic attack to activate his super long range flamethrower to try to poke the enemy. Yeah, it works out pretty well, but because he has no reliable long range attacks or any actual pure initiation attacks, getting damage for him can be kind of unreliable. So as for Brother Blood's super, you have to get close to your enemy and then activate it, but once you activate it, it just completely wrecks your enemy. The enemy, it basically, lots of weapons come up from the ground, from all the way behind you to just slightly in front of you, and it's not the best ultimate, not the easiest to execute, but if you get close to your opponent and execute it, it's basically it's reasonably reliable, I would say. Okay, and he's a solid B tier. He does very well in static defense and also can initiate reasonably well. Yeah. Okay, so on to the next character. I would. It's either Superman. Okay. I would try to put in my C tiers first. It's easily Terra. Maybe Batman, Aqualad. Honestly, Aqualad isn't that bad. Superman might actually be high C tier. I have no idea. Okay, Aqualad's definitely not too bad. Bumblebee, okay. Does this work? I think Raven is honestly only C tier because she lacks any real. Okay, wait. I'll just try to randomly put in some stuff. Okay. Does this work? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So for Beast Boy, he has very good initiation with his cheetah attack. So yeah, he can initiate pretty well. His special and ultimate and supers both involve him morphing to Gorilla and just charging along the ground towards the opponent. It's sort of like Starfire's attack, but it eventually stops after given a long enough distance, I think. Yeah, until you reach about the end of the screen, and yeah, it's basically a ground version of Starfire's specials and supers respectively. So the reason why it's not Beast Boy is not as good as Starfire is because, well, his initiate is a really close range melee one. So even though it's fast, it allows him to traverse a very 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 long range. It still requires physical contact, so it means that he's equally vulnerable to getting counter attacked by the opponent. Now, as for Beast Boy's static, it only helps against air assaults, which aren't very common, so it doesn't really help much. And his frog attack, which is basically his counter attacking move, actually works decently well as a static defense. For static defense, so still pretty decent. Problem is that Beast Boy can get destroyed by opponents with very 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 solid air defense, air static defense, and constant projectile attacks. Yeah. So it only puts him in B tier because he's pretty solid against one group of he's solid against like maybe half of the characters and slightly less solid against the other half. He's like average, pretty average. Aquaman, meanwhile, he's kind of hard to use. You need to like all of his his beach ball skill is basically useless unless you and your opponent overlap the same space. Like you guys are at the exact same place, exact same spot, and I don't know. It just takes some his controls take some getting used to. It's like everything is mixed up. But overall, he can be kind of solid. If you can master him, but he's really hard to use against lots of opponents, and also his skills cover very limited range. Like they either cover ground or a very specific spot in the air. They don't have like a wide range or wide hit range, like say Trigon or Starfire, like Trigons of Starfire's initiates. I think Aqualad's real value lies in his special attack. That wave thingy can actually cover quite solid distance along the ground and make it very very difficult for Aqualad's opponents to stay on the ground, so they have to like move off the ground, and this may allow Aqualad to maybe launch his counter attack skill, basically. Yeah, that ironically functions as the closest that Aqualad has to an initiating skill, which allows him to launch a water jet along the higher end of the screen, along near the top of the screen, and maybe get some good damage on the opponent. So he is not very reliable when it comes to getting damage, but he can do a few combos, and in the hands of a skilled player, yes, once again, he has potential. Superman, his initiating is pretty bad. When he's the combo that is used to initiate, basically the jump forward plus a basic attack, makes him ironically move backwards after he howls. It also doesn't have a very long move range. And as for his counter attack move, the laser eyes, it makes him move forward slightly, and it also has longer range than the howling attack, which is kind of scuffed. So he doesn't have any good initiation, but his static defense is very, very solid. He has that digging thing, that digging skill that can shield him from any ground melee initiations. His special doesn't do much. He just uses a counter-attacking skill, a supplement to his already very, very strong static defense. So it makes him very, very vulnerable to people who can just whack him from far, and even vulnerable to Trigon, because his static defense is very, very, very low range. It's a very, very short range. So Trigon's initiating skills can already almost count as a projectile attack to Superman. So yeah, Superman gets countered pretty hard, but not as badly as Batman. Actually, wait, I might rank Superman lower than Batman. If not for the fact that Batman can sort of initiate, but the timing at which the initiate is executed relative to the time where to your pressing of the buttons is kind of weird. And Batman doesn't exactly have a super amazing passive defense, so his basic attacks are really, really mid. It's just that his Batman special has a lot of potential in terms of timing. If you can time Batman's special very well, or if you can do a feint, like you jump forward pretending to do an initiating skill to bait your opponent to executing an attack, and then after that you activate your special and then reappear on the other side of the screen, you actually slowly whittle down your opponent's health. But with Batman, you have to be really, really patient and really time your attacks impeccably. You also have to be really good at feints, and you have to have a strong spatial understanding of the map. So with Batman, it's more of macros. You can't just combo and have fun, and gain satisfaction out of it. No, you actually have to take it really slow, and most of the time you're relying on the timer to run out. You're relying on the timer, so you have to hope that it runs out when you have a health advantage, allowing you to automatically win the game. So with Batman, it's not. Yeah, he's only used by players who are actually who study the game mechanics very, very rigorously. So it's not really the kind that you would play for fun, and also he can get countered by quite a few characters who don't rely on initiating. So his Batman's special relies on the opponent trying to get to his position to attack him. So that when he activates his special, his Batarang would slowly descend from. So it will move horizontally, but as it moves horizontally, it will descend slightly each time until it reaches the ground at the other side of at its original spot. So it's good against initiating melee initiating dependent characters like Beast Boy, who has to go straight to his opponent's spot very quickly to initiate, or against Jinx maybe. And this allows Batman to activate his ability, and after that shoot the Batarang to his original spot to deal damage to those melee initiating dependent heroes characters. I think this kind of works against Kid Flash, but Kid Flash can evade the projectiles quickly enough, and yeah. Raven is a static defense monster. I think I would rank her slightly higher than Batman. Bumblebee too, probably. Yeah. So Raven, Raven is just Raven's just amazing in my opinion. Okay, Raven is just amazing in terms of she absolutely excels in terms of static defense. Like, it's impossible to break through and try to melee initiate her. So characters like Jinx, Beast Boy, they will have trouble while trying to face her. Yeah, and maybe even Harley Quinn, they'll have trouble while trying to face her. The problem is Raven has basically no initiating skills. She can jump pretty far forward, so she can jump forward and after that use her skills, which primarily function as static defense, to try to get some damage on the opponent, which is good, I guess, but otherwise it's pretty hard for her to reach the opponent, and the opponent can counter-attack her pretty easily because the skills are not initiating based. So Raven is only C tier at best, but she can sort of counter quite a few characters, but she probably gets hard countered by projectile based characters with solid passive defense or initiating skills. Because initiation skills can also be used defensively against a bad initiator who tries to initiate. Yeah. And next comes Bumblebee. Bumblebee has projectile skills that are comparable to that of Robin's or Cyborg's. So yeah, her special actually helps carry her. And honestly, I would rank her higher if not for the other tier lists that rank her pretty low. Bumblebee is relative to the other characters, does not have amazing, has decent passive static defense, but the problem is static defense is Bumblebee's main niche. So the fact that she cannot do it as well as other characters, even though that is supposed to be her strongest point, makes her kind of limited. And also she has zero initiating skills, which makes her kind of bad. And her only saving grace is her projectile skills. So if the opponent tries to attack her, she can just like use her slightly above average passive defense to try to stop the opponent. But yeah, she can't really make good use of her passive defense against opponents with long range initiating skills like Trigon. So meh, it's not gonna work out. Her ultimate is really unreliable. It barely gets any damage on opponents unless they are reckless enough to try to melee initiate her when she has a super charged up. So yeah, Terra has a high skill floor, just like Batman. So they aren't completely useless per se, but Terra isn't completely useless per se, but it's kind of hard to use her basic attacks. They're just pretty mid, except for maybe her initiating skill, which requires very careful positioning and timing, because her initiating skill requires pulling a sharp little rock from the ground. Stalagmite, is it? Stalagmite, yeah. It requires summoning a stalagmite from the bottom to hit the opponent, so it usually misses, but if you're able to time it really well, it can hit your opponent from afar. So it isn't a projectile per se, but it's a ranged attack. So only pros will be able to make full use of Terra. It takes a lot of practice. She cannot be mastered the first time, and you really need to know how to use her initiating skill. As for her static attack and her counter attack skills, they don't really do much. They're basically as average as any other characters. So I already covered the D tier, right? Yeah. So I guess that's the end of this video. I'll probably go more in depth in future videos, but it's just a quick run through and a quick tier list organization just to get the rough sense of the different characters' skills and whatnot, I would probably move Bumblebee up the rankings, and I might also move Superman down I might also move Superman down. Kid Flash might go up. Jinx might go down. Maybe Paintbot too, because Paintbot doesn't have a particularly amazing, doesn't have a particular niche. He just it just can counter quite a number of characters pretty well. Mammoth has a chance of going up. Gizmo and Mother May are probably gonna stay down there. Robin and Starfire might eventually lose their position when there are better characters available, but Trigon, I trust, will stay at the top all the way. So thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and my name is ULPC. Thanks for watching.